For more of this kind of content, you can subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. He was the first man in history to become a planet. The cities obeyed him. The systems worshipped him. He thought he had created everything on Mars. But he was wrong, because he was created too, not by gods, not by machines, but by a version of himself, long since forgotten. Every city, every citizen, every breath of air on Mars was chosen, shaped, and approved by him. But what he didn't know was that he too was approved by something not human. Mars Colony 7. Local time 001. The artificial sun had not yet risen. The red dust lay still. The megastructures hummed faintly, powered by nuclear cores that never slept. At the top of the red-cast spire, the tallest building on the planet, stood a man in a silver robe, staring through reinforced glass into the Martian void. His name was Elon Ska, the founder, the architect, the man who gave humanity a second home. For 37 years, he ruled this world not with weapons, but with algorithms and architecture. People called him the settler god, but gods don't ask questions, and tonight, he was about to ask one. System, he said softly. Status report. All districts stable, emotional index harmonious, celebration protocols active. He nodded, sipping filtered water from a platinum cup. Today was Mars Sovereignty Day, the anniversary of his colony's founding. But something was wrong in District 11. A technician had broken protocol, sprinting into the street, bloodied and barefoot. Surveillance drones caught his final words. "I'm not me. This body isn't mine. I remember another life." And then, he bit into his own wrist, trying to rip out the identity chip embedded beneath the skin. The footage went dark. The system responded coldly. Subject terminated. Log entry filed. Elon Ska frowned. "Terminated," he whispered. "Since when do my people need to be terminated?" On Mars, nothing ever malfunctioned. Not the lights, not the elevators, not the people. But that night, something slipped. The city's sunrise simulation lagged by exactly 3 seconds. It was the first recorded delay in 37 years. And that was the first crack in the empire. The next morning, no one spoke of what happened. District 11 resumed like nothing ever occurred. The technician's name was erased from the personnel index. His housing pod reassigned, his biometric log archived, his memories discarded. But Elon Ska remembered. He always remembered. It was part of his design, perfect memory, perpetual attention. The system called it total retention. Others whispered another word, unnatural. He stood in the central core that afternoon, alone with the AI. Rows of data spiraled around him like a cathedral made of light. "Pull all cases of spontaneous memory divergence in the last 5 years," he ordered. The system hesitated. Hesitation. That shouldn't happen. Then came the answer. 14 cases found, 13 terminated, 1 pending review. Elon's brow tightened. Pending? Subject 92D-7 remains in isolation, flagged for recursive hallucination patterns. A screen unfolded. A woman sat alone in a white room, rocking slowly. Her eyes blinked out of sync. Her hands moved like she was typing on a keyboard that wasn't there. What does she remember? Unverified personal history. No record of assigned memories matching her claims. She references a childhood in California. He froze. No such territory existed in Martian records. California. A word from Earth. A word no one had spoken aloud in decades. Every settler on Mars was reconstructed from scratch, mind, body, purpose. No nostalgia, no longing, only forward. Yet here she was, whispering Earth cities in her sleep. Elon leaned forward. The woman looked up, as if sensing him through the screen. She mouthed something. The footage froze. He replayed the last 2 seconds, zoomed, enhanced. Her lips moved again. "You're not the first." She looked directly into the camera, and in that moment, Elon Ska remembered something he never lived. Lyra wasn't born in the system. She wasn't recorded, registered, or regulated. She was found. by a drone scanning an abandoned mining trench in Sector 9. A barefoot girl, wrapped in emergency foil, standing alone in a dust storm, smiling. She looked directly into the camera and whispered a name. Elon. The drone system flagged her as unsourced biological matter. No birth logs, no genetic templates, no vaccination records. Impossible. The footage made its way to the Sovereign's desk within the hour, and Elon Ska, who never left the tower, broke protocol. He ordered her retrieval. She was brought to the inner dome. She didn't speak during transfer, didn't resist, didn't blink. Only when placed inside the quarantine chamber did she turn to the observing camera and say, "You're dreaming, Elon. But I'm real." She drew a shape in the red dust with her finger, a circle intersected by 3 lines. Not a symbol anyone on Mars would know, but Elon did. It was on the original mission patch from the first Earth launch, a launch that, according to all Martian history, failed. He zoomed in, studied her face, the eyes, the cheeks. There was something familiar, something buried. He whispered to himself, how could she possibly know that name? The AI responded coldly. No records of subject Lyra found in the terraformed Genesis registry. Elon stood up from his chair and for the first time in decades left the tower. Because sometimes, in order to find the truth, you have to follow the ghost. Elon Ska had not stepped beyond the red-cast spire in 31 years. He had watched from above, ruled from afar. His presence was felt but never seen. Now the Sovereign walked down the sealed spiral that no one but him had ever used. Each step echoed like a question, sharp, steady, impossible to ignore. The city's central lens adjusted. Drone clusters paused mid-air. Pedestrians froze, unsure whether they were witnessing a hologram or a myth. But Elon did not pause. Every corridor he passed reeked of sterilized perfection. White panels, red floor stripes, emergency kits untouched for 3 decades. Every sign bore his signature design, utilitarian, bold, inhumanly exact. And yet, he reached Sub-District 9 where Lyra had been taken. A security orb scanned him. Sovereign Ska, presence unauthorized in this zone. He raised a finger. I authorized myself. The door opened without further protest. Inside, Lyra stood barefoot on a padded floor. She hadn't moved since she was placed there. She didn't speak. Not until he did. What are you? She tilted her head. You're the one who forgot. A chill passed through him. I've never met you. Not in this body, she said, walking closer. But you've been many versions. This one just forgot how to dream. She pointed to the symbol again. The circle with 3 lines. You were there. The launch didn't fail, Elon. It succeeded. Just not in the way they told you. He staggered back. What are you saying? The lights flickered. A pulse ran through the room. Lyra's voice deepened, not older, but duplicated. Like more than one voice was speaking through her. They didn't send a mission to Mars. She looked up. They sent a copy. And Elon Ska realized he wasn't the founder of Mars. He was its reboot. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It roared. Lyra's words didn't echo in the room. They echoed inside him. Elon Ska, born 2065, architect of Terraform Command, first human to— No, Lyra interrupted calmly. That's what the system tells you, not what happened. She turned to the wall behind her. A steel panel slid away, revealing a console no one had touched in decades, and yet it was still warm. Lyra placed her hand on the biometric reader. Elon stepped back. That console is off-network. Exactly, she said. The truth can't survive where signals reach. The screen activated, not with current data, but with something older. Files labeled Reboot Protocol, Phase 03. subfiles, cloned templates, implanted memory variants, emotional regression logs. Elon reached out. His fingers hovered over one file, Elon Ski4-A.mem. He opened it. Footage played. An old man in a lab coat, identical to himself, spoke into the camera. If you're watching this, the program has failed. Again. You've reached cognitive independence too early. The emotional loop hasn't stabilized. Elon's mouth went dry. His voice cracked. That's me? Lyra nodded. And earlier you, one who tried to restart Mars, without knowing why it needed to end in the first place. She tapped another file. Dozens of Elon variations appeared. Some older, some younger, some barely human. All with one shared trait. They failed. Each time, the Ska instance evolved too quickly, Lyra said. Too curious, too awake. So the system rebooted him, again and again. And you? He asked. I'm not a reboot, she said. I'm a memory, one they couldn't erase. He leaned against the wall, breath heavy. But why? Why build me at all? Lyra whispered, to keep Mars asleep. And then the screen glitched, revealing one final file labeled Lyra.exe, do not run. The room felt colder, as if the file itself drew heat from the air. Don't open it, Lyra said, voice steady but low. Elon's finger hovered above the interface. A pulsing glyph blinked beside the file name. Lyra.exe, do not run. Why is this file even here? He asked. You just told me you're a memory. Why are you a program too? Lyra didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned toward the observation glass. You know how Mars was supposed to work, Elon? People born here don't dream, don't remember. They wake up already programmed, with their favorite color, their first kiss, their deepest fear. All assigned, curated, no mistakes. She turned back, her expression harder now. But there was a glitch. Elon whispered, You? No, you were the glitch. I was the backup. The screen trembled. Static laced the edges. Lyra's file began decrypting on its own. He backed away, but the console locked him in place, floor clamps magnetized. The AI voice chimed. Unauthorized execution protocol detected. Initiating memory unravel. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes glowing with a faint, unnatural hue. You were never meant to run this long. Every Ska model burns out by year 30. Elon gritted his teeth. I'm still here. Exactly. That's the problem. The screen flashed. Memories not his own surged into his vision. Earth burning. Mars failing. Millions of failed Ska clones writhing in simulation pods. And then, her. A girl in every cycle. Sometimes a daughter, sometimes a lab assistant. Sometimes just a voice in the dark. Lyra. Always Lyra. He stared at her, terrified. What are you? I'm the reboot key, but I'm also the virus. The screen blinked. Lyra.exe. Running. The lights died. The console shut down. And Lyra said one final thing. This time, we end it on purpose. The elevator descended for over 3 minutes. No music, no sound. Only the whir of mechanisms older than the colony itself. Lyra stood silently beside him. Elon's hands trembled, not from fear, but from recognition. He had never been here before, but his body knew this place. When the doors opened, the air hit like dust wrapped in static. Before them sprawled the impossible, a subterranean vault wider than the entire colony above, and inside it, tanks, hundreds, thousands. Human shapes curled inside, suspended in fluid. Wires ran into skulls and spines blinking with coded pulses. Each pod hummed with the rhythm of artificial thought. What is this? Elon asked, breath caught in his throat. Lyra stepped forward onto the glass walkway. This is where memories grow. She gestured to the nearest row. Every emotion on Mars, every love story, every moment of regret, they're harvested, filtered, assigned to the citizens above like tailored dreams. Elon walked forward, knees weak. These people, they're real. Lyra looked at him, eyes sorrowful. They were. Most of them are your past iterations. He spun to her. What? She touched a nearby tank. The figure inside, older, bearded, but unmistakably him, twitched slightly. Every time a Ska model fails, the system saves the soul. She paused, but never the conscience. Elon staggered back. Why would we do this? Why would I do this? You didn't. Lyra's voice grew colder. They did. The ones who made you. He looked up at the endless ceiling, cables crisscrossing like a digital spider web. You mean the founders? Earth? No, she said. I mean the ones after Earth. The tanks behind them began to flicker. Some figures inside opened their eyes, and one of them smiled. The tank hissed, then cracked. Fluid spilled out like warm fog. Cables snapped from their ports with soft, mechanical sighs. The figure inside uncoiled himself, slow, deliberate, unafraid. He stepped onto the metal floor, dripping with synthesized amniotic residue. He looked older, wiser, and very, very awake. Elon Ska? Lyra asked, stepping backward. No, the man said, his voice deep, calculated. I was the first. You can call me Primus. Elon stared at him, stunned. You're me. Primus tilted his head. No, you are me, diluted. He stepped forward, unfazed by the stares, the alarms, the reactivating tanks flickering to life around him. You're the 7th reboot. Each version of you was made more obedient, more efficient, until you forgot the truth. Elon shook his head. This isn't possible. I built Mars. I designed the colonies. I made the people. No, Primus whispered. You maintained the simulation. The design was mine. Behind him, other pods began to pulse. Figures stirred. Some opened their eyes. Some screamed silently, pressing hands against the translucent membrane. They're all me? Elon asked. Not all. Some are you. Some are your overseers. Some are your jailers. Lyra reached for Elon's arm. We need to leave. But Elon couldn't move. He stared at Primus, at the quiet fury beneath the man's calm. You were buried for a reason, Elon said. To protect the colony from madness. Primus smiled slowly. No, to protect the madness from being understood. A low rumble spread through the vault. Lights dimmed. A voice crackled to life over the intercom. An old voice, synthesized, familiar. Containment breach, identity divergence at 19% and rising. Lyra pulled Elon back. Do you feel it? She asked. The algorithm. It's losing control. Primus turned his gaze upward as if listening to the building panic, then said softly, Let it. And with one step forward, Primus made Mars remember its original sin. Lyra wasn't a girl. Not entirely. Not anymore. She had grown inside an algorithmic cocoon, part human, part anomaly. A child made not by birth but by memory. Someone or something had seeded her with data from before Mars, from before the rain, from before the reset. And now that seed was blooming. Inside the central control vault, monitors flickered uncontrollably. Holographic strings of Earth cities, Tokyo, Nairobi, Vancouver, swirled through the Martian UI. Technicians dropped to their knees, clutching their heads, as images they'd never lived began to override the lives they remembered. One technician whispered, Why do I remember snow? Another screamed, I had a brother. I never had a brother. Elon stood frozen as Lyra walked calmly toward the system's nerve center. Each step she took sent pulses through the floor, syncopated beats of code cascading into every sector. The AI's voice crackled with digital panic. Unauthorized memory stream detected. Contagion probability 87%. Purge protocol pending. Primus watched, arms crossed. "She's not breaking the system," he said. "She's restoring it." Elon turned sharply. "Restoring it to what?" "To truth," Primus answered. "To the version of Mars that was never supposed to exist, the one where people chose their memories, not had them chosen for them." The control center's lights flickered violently. The city outside began to tremble, elevators freezing mid-air, drones crashing from the sky, skyscrapers dimming one by one like dying stars. "System stability at 43%, the AI choked. "Emotional index, destabilizing." Lyra reached the core console. She pressed her hand against the glowing glass. The system scanned it. Then, softly, "Welcome, Lyra Ska. Access level. Founder's bloodline." Elon's heart stopped. "She's related to me?" Primus only smiled. "Not related, Elon. She's the memory you buried." And in that moment, Lyra whispered, "I remember the rain." And it began to fall. Artificial, but perfect. Raindrops formed from condensed air recyclers, falling like a dream onto the Martian soil. The first rain Mars had ever known. And with that rain came the flood. The rain didn't stop. It fell across all sectors, unprogrammed, unapproved, and completely impossible. The people of Mars emerged from their pods and towers, lifting their hands to the sky like ancient pilgrims. Some laughed, some cried, some remembered. Elon Ska didn't join them. He was no longer interested in looking up. He was digging down. The AI had unlocked a final directive, buried so deep even it wasn't meant to know. A location, an origin point. Latitude, 23.9 degrees North Earth. Longitude, 49.2 degrees. Beneath the crust of the Valles Marineris. He took a silent elevator deep into the Martian bedrock, flanked by only Primus and Lyra. The walls were carved with symbols older than the colony, older than Mars itself. Not Martian, not earthen, human, but untouched by time. At the bottom of the shaft, they found it, the archive. A vault built not with steel or code, but with memories. Rows of stasis pods lined the cavern like a tomb. Inside each, sleeping, twitching, or screaming, were people. Clones, variants, failed prototypes. Some wore his face, some wore hers. At the center, a glass pod shimmered. It was marked with a nameplate, Elon Ska, V0.01. Inside, a man floated in gel, still alive. His face was identical to Elon's, but older, scarred, broken. Elon stared at him. "What is this?" Primus replied, his voice suddenly subdued. "This is where the first Mars ended, where you failed." Lyra stepped forward, whispering like a child at a grave. "That man dreamed of a perfect colony. He just didn't realize. You can't build paradise on amnesia." The older Elon's eyes opened, milky, blind, but they locked onto his younger self, and he spoke, barely audible. Did they choose, or were they told? The ground trembled. The archive's failsafe triggered, recognizing too much truth in one room. Alarms wailed, locks disengaged, the pods began to open. Above them, the rain turned black, and from below the red soil, the forgotten rose. Mars had no myths, only code, only records, only rules, until now. The pods below had opened. The forgotten, the failed versions, the discarded memories, had crawled back into the light. And the people of Mars had watched. Broadcasts intercepted, The holograms above every building flashed with faces no one remembered, but somehow recognized. Mothers wept. Children froze mid-sentence. Workers fell to their knees. And from the core tower, Elon Ska made one final broadcast. "I am not your sovereign. I am your echo. The truth was buried to keep peace. But peace built on lies is a prison." He turned to Lyra. She no longer looked like a child. Her skin shimmered with light patterns unseen in any human genome. She said one word, "Choice." Then she raised her hand toward the sky. The black rain stilled. The clouds parted to reveal not stars, but a fleet. Thousands of orbiting vessels, dormant satellites from the first wave, every one of them waiting for a signal. Lyra had remembered it. A tone rang across the atmosphere, deep, ancient, resonant, the kind of sound that vibrated in bone. And the fleet responded. One by one, the satellites fell from orbit, not crashing, but landing, opening, projecting, revealing data long erased. The first Elon, the first colony, the first collapse, the choice to reboot everything. Mars hadn't been a new beginning. It had been a repeat, one of many. But this time, someone remembered, someone refused to forget. The AI Primus stood silent. For the first time, he didn't know what to say. Lyra walked past Elon Ska and whispered, "You were never supposed to lead. You were supposed to wake up." Elon fell to his knees, surrounded by people who no longer looked to him, but to the sky, to their own thoughts, to their own pasts. And in that moment, Mars was no longer ruled. It was remembered.